we should be,
Different, what we don't understand. It's
yeah.
what I'm reading. It's not.
it's showing halfway, but usually by now
Yeah.
we're
You.
actually,
Oh my God.
we should be, yeah.
Okay.
How, you have to. see-
All right, the July 27th meeting of the planning board of the town of Rochester is called to order. I'll have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, would you call the roll?
Alright, Chair Jones,
Here.
Member Cuthbert,
Here.
Member Duda, here, Member Roberts,
Here.
Member Pinsky.
Here.
Member Cornwall, here, Member Nelson absent. Dave Gordon, Dave Church, myself, then later Chris Levine and Chris Meter.
Okay, so the first thing is the minutes. We're not gonna do them tonight. There's still a few changes that have to be made to the minutes. So we'll let it lapse until the next meeting. Next meeting is August 10th. So that takes care of that. The first item on the agenda has to do with Verizon. And this is just an FYI that I wanted to bring to the board's attention. Verizon's not going to appear if there's no reason for them to be here. If you remember the last time that they appeared, which was 2 meetings ago, there was we made some changes and the board approved changes to the part 2, part 3, and the C and D. Most particularly the C and D, we added condition number 24, which had to do with the requirement for the applicant to go to the CEO at the time that they were seeking their certificate of occupancy in order to determine whether the CEO was going to hold them accountable for open space and recreation space. And so that was, we crafted some verbiage. Dave took care of that, and that is in the C and D. And that was passed by the board. We needed to put that up onto the ENB system, the Seeker ENB system. So that took place last Wednesday. The publication of that will be this Wednesday, which is July 29th. The code is a wee bit flexible, but it's clear that we decided to allow any kind of public comments on the new C and D, which added this 24th item. And the Seeker statute provides for 30-day comment. So if it's published on the 29th, this Wednesday, that takes it to August 28th. Which is 30 days, which is a Friday. The meeting where we hope to begin the process of going through the decision, Dave and I are planning on having a draft decision to the board before the meeting on the 31st. But by having the C and D commentary period end on that Friday, the 28th of August, we'll be fine with going through the beginning to go through the decision. So I just wanted to alert you to those bits and pieces, nothing to vote on. If anybody has any questions, let our attorney or Dave answer them. But it was important that I notify you and let you know that there was this 30-day commentary period. And the ENB, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but the ENB also mentions that there's a commentary period, correct?
Well, the EMB is a publication. You mean the DEC regulations?
No, the actual.
Well, the EMB won't. When I went to post it last week, it wouldn't accept the posting because I didn't fill out one required field, which is the end date for the public comment period. Because you previously didn't set one. So that's what Rick's talking about. We had to set a 30-day comment period, even though it was a modest revision to a document you already approved. Procedurally, I'll defer to Dave about what we have to do.
I think, is everybody clear on that, the board? All right, so that was the only thing that I wanted to mention about Verizon. And I mentioned to Scott Olson what was going on, and he chose not to be here just to discuss that. No questions? All right, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Which is Patrick and Helen O'Donnell. It's a LLI. We discussed this at a previous meeting. And the decision is on, Stacy, did you make a copy and put it on the desk, or is it in the,
It's in the agenda.
it's in the agenda? And there's a map there of the O'Donnell LLI. If you remember, this is the one where they're collapsing 3 lots into 1 lot. It's on, Clearview Drive,
They don't have this.
sorry,
It's on the agenda. I didn't put them out.
Oh, gotcha.
yes, I'm sorry, there's no printer.
I mean,
So it's on the agenda, I'll wait for you to get to the agenda. Still trying to save paper. So it's 3 lots into 1, Clearview Drive. It had been part of, or is part of the Quiet Mountain Estates section number 2. From 1987. So you have the decision in front of you. The map, I went over the map, it looks fine. The map elements, the notes are all there, particularly the note on the second page of the decision, note number 1, so that's on the map already. So I'm just seeking a motion to approve the lot line.
Motion.
Second,
I second.
Jennifer and Hans. Anybody have any comments or questions? All in favor?
I,
Chair votes aye. So it's 6 ayes and 1 absence. Okay, so that takes care of that. Okay, next on the item on the agenda is Grab Tough, went quicker than we anticipated. So I'm gonna go to you guys. First student.
Mike, is James Johnson the engineer?
yes.
Oh, Chris,
Chris is coming. And I didn't think we
did I
would,
say?
Yes, that's
Okay.
great.
he'll be here shortly.
So
Said he'd get like 7-ish.
Because I believe a lot of it's gonna probably entail talking to the Christians, correct?
Yeah, what I wanted them to do is to go through the results of the meeting from last Monday that we had. So just to catch the board up, last Monday, myself, Jennifer and Dave Church had a Zoom call with it's in front of you, as well as Chris Lapine and Chris Meter, the fire expert guy. And I guess we spent an hour and a half, 2 hours going through the comments that Labella had on the project. And I think we made progress. There's still some open items. One of the open items that needs to be addressed had to do with zoning. Our engineer picked up on the fact that the zoning requirements require that the power cube that's up in the corner of the map, if you remember, you've got the central Hudson generator, and then there's a power cube that First Student was going to put on place, which helps to regulate, I guess, the voltage in order to distribute that to the 20 EV stations. Portion of our code states that structures such as that cannot be located within the front setback, nor can it be in front of the primary structure. So this cube is considered to be an accessory structure. So the combination of it being in front of the primary structure, which is the maintenance building on the site, as well as, I believe, encroaching on the lot line in a fashion that the code didn't approve, meant that they had to do one of possibly three things. So, which actually at some point I'm going to let one of the Daves explain. But essentially, it boils down to either move the cube so that it's in compliance, go to the CEO and petition him as to whether or not a variance is necessary. Sorry. That's the second option, but the third option is to go to the ZBA for a variance. So that's gonna be up to the applicant what they do. But I think what I'd like is for Dave, maybe Dave, to explain what the code says and what the applicant's options are.
Well, actually, I'll defer to Dave on what the code says. He looked at it much more carefully. Bottom line is, it's not compliant. And so the good news, before I get to anything else, is that we looked very carefully at the letter that EPA sent you. And we believe that nothing that we're gonna say here is going to jeopardize your, what EPA has asked us to do. So, having said that, and they can get more into why it's not compliant, basically it's in the setback, so it comes down to that. Not last month, but last meeting, I suggested that you may want to put it in a different place that was compliant. And you had responded that that would involve the loss of 2 parking spaces. And I also said that you might want to consider just doing that, applying, getting the site plan approval in compliant manner. And then if you want those 2 parking spaces back, at that point, you can apply for amended site plan approval and go get your variance. And you decided that was too uncertain for you. I would advise maybe putting that back on the table. I also observed, and this is incorrect, that that doing that would essentially take too long. And the reason why, the good news here is the reason why it won't take too long is that I would suggest to the board that we take a tack that allows us to complete our process even if the variance has not yet been granted. I think the variance will be something that you guys will be able to get. I can explain that either here or perhaps offline, depending on the level of discussion goes into. But for the board, what I'm suggesting that we do in this case, because of the way the EPA letter is written, is that we angle our process towards granting a conditional approval. Now, site plan approvals are conditional anyway. You've got to do X, Y, and Z. You've got to come in with a landscaping plan or this or that. In this case, and we don't usually do this, but whatever. One of the conditions will be to get the zoning straightened out. And as the chair suggested, there's a couple of different ways to do that. Originally, you thought that because this was a temporary structure, maybe it didn't apply. The person who makes that decision is the code enforcement officer. And so short messages, and this will be part of the conditions, and you can do this at any time. If you can get him to agree to that, you're done. That's it. You convince him that because it's temporary, even though it's probably going to be a number of years that it's going to be in this position. We don't have, I don't happen to think so, but it's also, frankly, jurisdictionally, it's not our call. It's the building inspector's call. So if you want to go convince him of that with whatever presentation you think is necessary, there's no hearing on that. Just set a meeting, write a letter, whatever you need to do. That would be one of the prongs of the condition. Secondly, assuming that the CEO doesn't see it that way, then the answer is to apply for an area variance. And what we're presenting to you is, unlike my first thought last couple of weeks ago, is that we can proceed in parallel with the ZBA. Usually, we won't do that. We won't give an approval. We won't, I don't want to go into too much detail, but we won't give an approval until the ZBA grants its variance, because we typically don't grant an approval conditionally on the zoning. But that's what I'm saying is we can do that here. We can basically take this off the table for our purposes, because it's not our call anyway. It's the CEOs and the ZBAs. And we can get you to site plan approval with no loss of time, because it will be conditional. And what I can do is either hear a little bit. I believe you will be able to get a variance in this situation. I can talk to you offline a little bit what I see here and how. I don't want to go too much into strategy, but there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The short message is get on it. Depending on how EPA feels about another proceeding before the ZBA, it can happen pretty quickly, and you'll be able to satisfy whatever the issues are here with Labella and the other technical issues. That's going to be on its own track, and if you can get those solved, then the issues on the other side will be with the ZBA. I think you can move quickly on that, but there'll be certain things that I would suggest you do. And we can talk about those. So that's basically it. If you need more explanation, that's exactly technically why it's a violation. Dave was all about the code, but this should not hold you up here as long as the board is willing to go along with the conditional approval.
So to summarize, you have two avenues that involve other people, either the CEO or the ZBA. Or if you were to decide amongst yourselves to move it, whatever implications that may have, then you don't have anybody else to go to move it, to make you in compliance with what the zoning code says. That all is here. And you wouldn't have to worry about us making the decision conditional upon either getting the CEO to do his thing or the ZBA to do it.
And furthermore, I don't think the board would have any prejudice against, if you did that, did what you needed to do, get the approval, go to EPA, get the grant. And then if you want to come back in a few months and reconfigure your site plan approval, and, for an amended approval, and at that point you could go to the ZBA and whatever thing you wanted. I don't think that would be a problem.
So the timeline for the ZBA.
Well, again, it like this board, typically ZBA, and I don't work with them, so I can't speak for certain, but it would be a 2-meeting process where you go in, get your application in, go in, present to the ZBA, they'd set a public hearing, and then at the next meeting, at the public hearing, they'd hear from the public, if the public had any comments, and then if things work out, and then in some of the other towns I work in, you can get out at that point. So it'd be pretty straightforward. It would take basically 2 meetings of the ZBA, and you can be out in a month. And, I assume, again, looking at the EPA letter wanted you to get a path through this process. This does that. Alternatively, the EPA letter wanted you to explain how you, if you didn't, how you were gonna, do your homework here. I think that getting through here and then just having the side process, I think it doesn't look, I didn't see anything in the letter that was hostile to that. That was my impression.
The only additional comments to what Dave said was, the ZBA has been in the past 1 or 2 items a quarter, maybe on their agenda. The next agenda has 5 items on it. I don't know what the next agenda after that. They meet once a month.
I mean, once a month.
So they've had more and more items on the agenda. Now, in addition to the meetings, the findings have to be written up by the ZBA's attorney. So you may only have 2 meetings, question mark. But then there's a process where the ZBA's attorney has to do findings of law, essentially, I think it would be.
They answer 5 questions as part of their decision,
Okay,
but the board members come up
So-
with the answers.
I mean, if you wanted my opinion, what I would do if I was in your shoes, I'll give it to you, but
But you're also assuming that they'll grant the variance.
Say what?
You're also assuming that they will grant the variance.
Well, there are 2 avenues to get that variance. I mean, I'll just do the basics here, and talk more about strategy. The New York State has a relaxed standard for variances for utilities. I don't know if you would qualify for utility under that standard. You may well, or you might not. I would look into that pretty carefully, because if once you're a utility looking for a variance, you'll get it. I mean, it's a very relaxed standard at that point. But your private, I'm not sure if you qualify for a public utility. The second way is just the typical way somebody would apply for a variance to put something in a setback. There are factors, there are criteria in New York State town law as well as in our code. Sometimes they're called the 5 factors, because it's a list of 5 plus basically it comes down to the benefit to the community, the detriment to the community, like let's say the visual impact or whatever detriment might be, to the benefit to you. And looking at those 5 factors, I believe you'd be able to make a strong argument, especially if it's really needed if this cube is really needed in that spot and you can make that argument, I think you would have a very strong argument for the 5 factors. If it's not, and I'm happy to talk to you guys more offline about this, it'll be a little bit more difficult, in which case you may want to think about a different avenue. I still think you have a decent chance, because it depends on what the impact would be to everybody. And my advice would be also in this regard, especially if you want to have a better chance of doing this efficiently in terms of time efficiency, you might want to hire local counsel. And somebody knows how to do this and, squeeze it out more quickly.
So I just want to refer to what Dave Roberts started this, what did say, it assumes you do get the variance. Our attorney feels could be a sure thing. It's
Short thing, not a sure thing.
a sure thing, not a short thing. It's a roll of a dice. The sure thing is moving. And he offered, Dave offered an option for that too. You move it when you're before Raj, you say, okay, here's how we're gonna comply with the zoning. And then later on, you could come back and ask for an amendment to the site plan. That would come to us, whether we would grant it or not.
Well, they'd also have to get if they want to do that, they'd have to get the variance as well.
They have to
They'd be
get-
putting it back in the
You're right.
setback.
So moving it, to Dave's point, reassures you in case the ZBA doesn't agree with our attorney, who's not their attorney, with the ease of getting it. So if I were in your shoes, I'd be looking for the sure thing. But I don't know what that means in terms of, well, I do know what it means. It's more coarse. I don't know whether moving it creates a problem with the amperage or the voltage or you're traveling over additional distance. I have no idea. But that's for you and your engineers to kick around. But those are the three options. And I don't know if the board has any experience in these kinds of things and wants to offer some counsel or has questions for Dave about the options. I don't want to solve it for you guys. I just want to make sure you understand those are your three options.
Is there a reason why we can't move it?
It's primarily, we're hooking, that's our power cube, it hooks up directly to the transformer that Central Hudson has
Right.
decided they're gonna put in that space.
That's the best,
So-
Central Hudson has specified that that's the best space. I think that would be. One of the 5 factors is whether the need for a variance is what is self-created. In other words, if you're a homeowner and you just decide you want to extend the porch over into the setback, or you want to build your shed in the setback, but you have plenty of land otherwise, that's gonna work against you. If you have to do it, especially for a public purpose and, and therefore, and Central Hudson is saying, put it here. That is one of the 5 factors and that will be to your benefit. And that's even above and beyond that's if you don't even qualify for the utility, that's if you get into those 5 factors. One of them is whether you have to do it there. So I'll just give you that.
Do you have
quick-
documentation from
So we can show that. A letter.
It's there because that's where their pole is, and it's the shortest run for them to make, the tie into the transformer on the pole and keep they're paying for it, so they're keeping their costs down. That's the lowest cost place they can do to put it in.
An engineer is testifying to them would be helpful.
Dave, would we need a statement from Central Hudson or?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
from Central, no, well, they could make the statement themselves, but a letter from Central Hudson certainly couldn't hurt.
that's what I was going.
And one of your engineers with a whole bunch of letters after their name would be most helpful also.
At some point, I'm speaking for the ZBA, so just, take that,
Okay.
somebody else is gonna make those decisions.
Wouldn't it be faster go to code enforcement officer?
Well, yeah, you can call the code enforcement officer tomorrow, and if he agrees,
enforcement.
if he agrees that, that it's compliant, then we're all set.
Brain justification, just so, rather than going through the bureaucratic.
Michael,
Well, they might want to.
post their office of consent,
Enforcement officer meets any exception.
code enforcement. So if you have any, if you want to
Break
discuss with
water.
them prior to
License
me at
giving.
8:30 tomorrow. That might.
I don't want to talk to.
One
that.
One item we discussed on Monday was that it may be exempt because it's part of the overall power system. You all were gonna look into that as the way that you get around this whole issue altogether. Did you explore that?
I looked at, an aggravating factor here is that some of the players have been looking at the old code. I don't know if that was your case as well, because there's a new provision in the code that got adopted a year and a half ago that some people soon to be in the room missed. So that code says you can't have an accessory structure in the front setback anywhere unless you meet an exception specifically stated in the zoning code. So I looked around, that's when I came up with the adaptive reuse option.
Right.
Which you could, by the way, go ask. I mean, Dave and I talked it over. We're not recommending that to this board, but you could go ask the the code enforcement officer if he buys that exception. But there's another one, that's typical, which is, he called it utility. This code calls it essential services. But the amendments to the code didn't carry over any of the criteria for when that applies. So if you're an essential service, it's a big so what in the current town code. If not,
I want to, the issue that you raised, that's exactly what would fit into, if it's part of the power grid. Then that would fall, the way it works is you don't not need a variance, but you can get it much more easily. Actually, we don't even deal with Central Hudson citing, utilities typically.
no one's asking a question about the transformer,
I don't know.
which is,
So what I divined from what the two Daves just said, he's gonna need a variance one way or the other, if that's the route you choose, instead of moving it. And, some of this information that you're being provided, and I don't want to give you too much advice because then it becomes, well, you guys said this, it's like part of the confusion that we created in our Monday call that Jennifer and we had via Zoom was that Labella's document that they produced, they were basing it on, they pulled up the wrong code. So all codes in New York State, or maybe other states, exist on something called E code. When the new code was put into place, E code is generally updated. It hadn't been updated appropriately. So Labella was reading the old code instead of the new code. We all have the new code. We have it on our computers. We have paper copies if that's how you prefer. Our attorney has the new code. But unfortunately, Labella, when they made certain statements in their paper, it was based on the old code. We caught it, and so everything you're hearing now from the Daves is you still have to go for the variance, but it's not as serious perhaps as it was before, but you still need a variance. Or you need to go to the CEO and have him tell you it's a temporary structure.
And we won't need a variance.
And then you don't need the variance, or you move it.
Yeah.
In which case you don't deal with the CEO, you don't deal with the ZBA. So I think we've given you enough pros and cons. Our attorney's trying to be positive around it.
Sure.
Again, I told you what I would do if I was in your shoes, knowing how these things sometimes go. Somebody on the board decides, well,
In other words, what this board can do is to give you a conditional, get you out of here. At least on the track of the other issues you're facing. This one will not stop you from getting out of here because we'll give it, I can't speak for the board.
and I don't want to solve your problem of moving it. That's your,
But
how you move it, if that's what you decide, where you move it, how you move it, that's gonna be all yours.
But if you don't, the board is likely, the board can choose to give you a conditional approval on the zoning, which is not something that's typical because we usually would require the ZBA to adjust that first. But you can get you out of here, which is what EPA seemed to have been very concerned about from, obvious reasons. But then you got the ZBA issue and you'd have to make your case to ZBA and you also have to convince EPA that that's not going to be a significant impediment. Using the utility exception for variances would be a very black and white thing on both ends.
I'm assuming that scenario is better than the reuse scenario that we.
From our perspective, the reuse isn't gonna work, for reasons that Dave and I discovered. You convince the CEO wants to buy that, sure, but that's not for the ZBA. If the CEO considered a reuse, then even if it's considered a reuse, we didn't think it applied the rule requires that there basically be no new construction, no new expansion of the non-compliance. And what we're talking about here is construction to expand the non-compliance. In other words, it really applies to the building that you're adaptively reusing, which is it just didn't quite fit.
When we were on the phone,
But if
we
he's-
thought we could be creative around that view. When the two Daves sat and met and talked about it, it's hard to take the words of the code and make it work for the adaptive.
But if that's our opinion, we're not the zoning people. If the CEO thinks it works, Right, you can lay both out. You can let the temporary structure, the adaptive reuse. And if neither one works, then you can just go to ZBA for that area variance on either grounds, either as a utility or on the 5 factors that you need.
If the
Yeah.
CEO approves, do we have to go to the ZBA too? or
No.
CEO, okay.
Is that,
There.
Unless you-
CBA is only for to get a variance for non-compliance. If the CEO says it complies based on the theories that you believe and are presented, you're good.
As you guys kick these options around in the quiet of your office, whatever, if you need to talk to our attorney, it's fine. Or to Dave, Dave is more familiar with the zoning code. The other Dave is more familiar with the legal likelihood of getting to square one.
The adaptive reuse is in 14010 of the town code. 140 is the zoning code, chapter 140. It's in section 10. There's a section about adaptive reuse. If the code enforcement officer can be convinced, I go for it. 14013 is where I spend my time as well, because that defines what accessory structures are and the exemptions or exceptions from the setback requirements for those structures. And a year and a half ago, the town board added a provision that you can't have an accessory structure in the front setback, which in the applicable zoning district's 35 feet. So we were focused on it couldn't be closer than the building, your building, but that's not true. The new code says can't be in the front setback unless it meets an exception. There is an exception for storage containers. You could try that angle. I don't know, it's not our call.
I think that's a,
It's-
hey, Mike, what we're gonna have to do. I had again miscalculated because there was other things we're thinking for in the agenda, so I told Rav Todd to come. Should have told him to come earlier. So it looks like they're here now. They're outside. We need to wait for LaBella, and since you guys were last on the agenda, they were coming later.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you to. I want to make sure they are here. Jen, would you mind seeing if Rav Todd is out there?
Excellent.
I'm gonna ask you guys just to sit in the audience. You can chit chat.
Yeah.
I want to get through theirs and then we'll have you come back, because by that time LaBella will be here.
Okay.
All right, and we can go through everything. And if you have more questions about this, you're last on the agenda. We're here till midnight.
No,
No.
Oh.
Rick's here till midnight.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah, Jen.
Yeah, I think it was adjourned by 9.
Could we ask them to come in? Jen, could we ask them to come on
Oh,
in?
yeah. Well,
Yeah, they're not here. We should adjourn.
pass them the-
No, can't do that.
That's true.
Why not wait?
I said, supposed to adjourn at 9. All she has to do is pass, pass a motion. And if it gets seconded, really.
yeah.
Okay, so we're shifting gears and then we'll come back.
Up.
Okay,
He'll do his public hearing. That's the first.
that'll help.
Yeah, well, right.
That's my.
All right, so Jeff, sorry for the little delay. When you asked me what time to get here, I gave you a time. But we got through the beginning of the agenda way quicker, so I think I'm gonna be telling you all the time when you ask that. How about the beginning, and that way we don't have to jiggle people around unless it's obvious that you're last.
That's
But-
fine.
Trying to get you out a little earlier than we normally would do. So apologies to the applicant and their consultants. I had sent you, Jeff, a version of the redone scoping draft on Wednesday. And breathe a sigh of relief. We made the deadline I had set, only to find out over the weekend that there were some continued anomalies with some changes that didn't get into that document. So Dave Church scrambled to get another copy out, I guess this morning, Dave.
Right.
All right. And so I apologize. And what Dave is prepared to do tonight is to go through those changes that you didn't get in the document from Wednesday, and they are minor. There may be some other changes that members of the board want to bring forward. So we'll listen to those. And then, of course, we'll listen to whatever changes or questions you guys have. And then I want to talk a little bit about the hydrogeologic study. I got something from Mark. I guess that was Friday or Saturday, I think it was. So I want to talk a little bit about the hydro study. But David, are you prepared just to go through with them by page number?
Well, it's not that much from
The things that we,
Wednesday or from the,
well, the things that you inserted in what you sent out today.
right, so there was,
But just page number,
Okay.
Dave.
oh, all right, I've
Anybody,
got a-
excuse
I've got
me,
a
Dave, there's
reflection.
copies on everybody's desk.
I don't know. Did you guys need a printed copy from this morning?
I believe, yes.
Because I have a few.
And the
So,
board. there are
Dorian, you
copies.
got your corrections?
Purple no left.
This is the one.
Yeah, some of them are pretty minor, I didn't.
Yeah. One of them, I wrote this.
Wait until they're ready.
I'm not wrong, not probably.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Dave,
I may need some help. I'm just gonna skip over some little ones. There was one that said quality and quality twice instead of quality and quantity. So that was fixed, correct, Dorian?
Yeah.
There's a couple misspellings, and then we go to transportate, is Greg joining us or not?
no,
Because he proposed something this afternoon. Did you see that?
I saw it. I think that it made sense.
all right, so let's,
Anyway,
what page? Dave?
well, we'll start with what I did. So on transportation, Jennifer noted that I had.
Page, Dave.
Page 6 and 7. Bottom of 6 and the 7,
Okay, got it.
okay?
Yep.
So Jen helped me here on I added,
It was under potential impacts? No.
Yeah, the
Mitigation.
multiple scenario.
We removed, this was discussed at the last meeting, but under traffic, we removed 4.
Jen, could you talk a little louder?
Sure, under. This isn't, it's the.
traffic forecast, right?
Yeah, it,
The earlier version referenced you were gonna do 4 scenarios.
right,
The number's gone.
the number's gone.
Right.
And
The
then,
number 4,
There's no number specific anymore.
good.
and then at the bottom of page 7, under mitigation measures, we had discussed it last time and it didn't make it out. But it's represented here, the addition of and or road improvements.
So let's just read it. Mitigation method, identify safety improvements, capacity improvements, and or road improvements. That's what changed.
That's
The and or.
And
Okay,
or.
$77.
Page.
so that's all for traffic. Dave,
I did have a question though.
on traffic,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Under potential impacts, on page 7, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, where it says potential impacts. The first sentence, the traffic associated with the operation, that sentence, I thought we deleted that.
We deleted there was a phrase in it that made an editorial statement about traffic wasn't gonna increase because of this.
I see, okay,
I took it that phrase got stricken, but I'm deferential.
I would take that, I'd like to take that sentence out,
You want to take something else out, Jen?
just the one sentence.
Which sentence?
The first sentence?
The traffic associated with the operation of the existing camp will represent the existing baseline condition.
You think that should be out?
I don't know, we don't know that the current camp operations are the baseline, we haven't established that yet. We don't know what the baseline is,
Yeah.
so I'm hesitant.
No, for secret purposes, I don't understand how that's a controversial statement. I mean, that is the baseline. What you're permitting is a new dining hall facility, so the existing traffic without the permitted action was the baseline.
but we haven't established the scope of the proposed action. And so until we establish the scope of the proposed action, we wouldn't want to establish a baseline condition. Without that,
I don't understand.
until we know what the proposed action is,
Proposed action is defined here. Description of proposed action is 2.0.
there have been upgrades to the camp. That it's a resort. Thank you. To serve camp and resort uses. But there have been upgrades to the camp and the resort since the purchase of the property that have not been established. How that could affect the baseline condition, for example, for sewer. So. That's why I'm asking to take it out, because we're establishing a baseline. The baselines for each impact area could be different, so our baseline for septic and sewer could be different than the baseline for traffic. You may be correct, the baseline for traffic may end up being, that sentence may in fact be correct.
I
But
think-
I'm hesitant to establish that in a draft scope.
But-
And then have to back it out of it in an EIS.
I think this would just refer to, what is the traffic like today?
Right. But if we have more people attending that have never been evaluated under an environmental review, then that's not the baseline.
Right.
The baseline is.
So when is
some
the
other-
date?
That's not correct as a matter of law. I mean, for secret purposes, you look at what the camp is able to do with and without the permits.
So
So
permitted capacity is, but we need to establish what that permitted capacity is.
if we withdrew our permit today, that would be the baseline. We withdrew our application and continued to operate the camp. That is the baseline.
Then
Well, what does your permit say is the baseline? What does your permit say that the population is? You have a permit that gives a number?
Secret is triggered by the application for our permits. So the application for this permit is to build an expanded dining facility. That's the secret action. So, I mean, that was, the essence of the letter that I submitted a couple weeks ago.
But I think what Jen is saying is we haven't. Part of what we're looking for from you is to provide the permits that tells this board what your permitted number is, what the permitted camp number is, along with the resort number. To produce that number. And I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. And we
We
don't
don't
have
have,
that.
we don't
information.
have that. We started with, and you were part of the original discussions of a year and a half ago. This all started with 550 and we were led to believe that 550 was everything. Resort, and clearly you had a resort operation and you have a camp operation. The determination letter from the CEO referred to operation of the resort along with the camp. And the dining facility to take care of those, take care of the camp and presumably also the resort, where else are you gonna feed them? So we've never gotten a clear understanding, we had a clear understanding that the number was 550 in total. And it wasn't until November of last year that we found out, no, the number that you all were thinking was 770. And that's where we literally scratched our head and said, wait a minute, we've been dealing with 550 and had assumed. So I think not to belabor that point, because at some point we will be belaboring it and we'll be looking for permits. But what Jen is saying is that there's been no number set as of people set as a baseline.
Which therefore obviously affects traffic analysis.
All right, I mean. If we need to take the sentence out to move on, that's fine, but I understand the question.
Yeah, I think. So just to summarize, we don't have a permit that shows what the current permitted number of people is.
I understand that, so. From a secret perspective, there would have to be some additional permit that's identified that the camp does not have, that it needs to apply for in order for the impacts to be. That are associated with the grant of that permit to be studied. Otherwise, it's baseline. If the camp is able to operate at 770, then that's baseline.
May I make a statement?
Go ahead, yeah.
So then with that logic, would we then assume that the Speedy's permit, which is based on the Menembach and Eggers map, which clearly indicates, I'd have to pull it up, but 400 and something, that is what your Speedy's permit is predicated on. So then we should use, with following the logic that we're discussing, then that should be the baseline, which is far less than the 550.
Okay.
But that is what was submitted for the NYSDEC permit. So if we're trying to establish a baseline, I would say that's the baseline. I don't know.
The legal, from a legal perspective, the question would be, does that Speedy's permit need to be modified? Or does
That
the
is
Speedy, that's
agreed.
the question.
Well, okay. This,
We're
A
also
full-
lead agency. And
What?
so we're as lead agency.
yeah. This disagreement or this, this is a phase of an argument or a disagreement that we've had from the beginning on this. I mean, Jeff has from time to time expressed a similar perspective. I think it depends on the specific situation here. What Adam is saying is sort of basic, secret boilerplate. The basic definition. I looked at his letter that pulled out some generalized statements. That's basically the starting point. But in terms of the specific situation that Helena mentioned, I mean, you may as well just say this now. I believe this is the board's position. In that case, we have a Speedy's permit. And the Speedy's permit not only is a permit, which is, and you're talking about now getting a revised permit, which we have not even begun to discuss, but it's probably a good idea. But let me continue. My advice here was not to use the Speedy's permit because it's the permit. My advice is to use the Speedy's permit because it defines as best we can, and I don't think there's any other technical data, the capacity of the septic system. Right? If the Speedy's permit says, setting aside the number of people, which I know some people are focused on, which was in the 400s, under the Speedy's permit, which is dated in 2012, the capacity of that septic system is 27,400 gallons per day. And it's disaggregated, but we'll leave that to the side for the moment. If you have a septic system for 27,400 gallons a day, and we're using a number of people in the application, setting aside the argument, which frankly, I don't think it's productive to get into as to what the population was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or whatever we want to start arguing baseline. If you have a population discharging septic waste into a septic system that is too small to handle the waste by whatever estimates there are of use, and I know that's going to be an issue as well, but if you have a number of people that's discharging excess waste into a septic system, especially, not even necessarily, but especially in an aquifer that people are using for drinking water supply, that is going to be that's going to be a seeker issue, no matter what the arguments over the baseline are. We've been insistent on that from the beginning, and I know you guys have respectfully disagreed, but that's just the way it's going to be, depending on how it turns out. Assuming the board agrees, which I think it does. Traffic is a little bit funkier problem because there's no permit, and even to the extent the board is looking at, let's say, by the way, there was a camp permit for a couple of years ago for 550
550.
kids,
Two
right?
years ago, if I recall, yeah.
And that was specific to the number of campers.
That's just campers.
Well,
Doesn't talk to the resort.
right. Oh, so you're on the resort end now.
Well, you got a resort and a camp, and that was
we got-
those are the two uses.
And the Speedy's permit you're applying for both, so the seeker review will be for both.
Right.
But I think that we have to. That's a harder situation because we don't have a permit in terms of traffic for a resource that is arguably overloaded. And that's not to say the resource isn't arguably overloaded, it's just we don't have a defined capacity based on state law, which we do in the septic system. And I don't, I think what we need to do is to figure out a way so that this is not a negative impact on the community. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I guess my thought is the black letter you're talking about, it applies differently in different situations. It probably applies a little bit with a little bit more force here than in the Speedy situation where I don't think it works for us.
So I have to agree with Jennifer as I read and reread this and thinking about where we're at with this. We're still dealing with 550 at best. I know Helena mentioned a number 440, I think was the number, but let's say 550 at best was what. That doesn't even include the resort. It doesn't. And then, of course, as it turns out, we got that letter back in November of last year, which said, oh, it's really 770. So to assume that 770 is the number, which is part of the reason why we're sitting here, because we couldn't get exact numbers out of the applicant. Well, they changed significantly in our view. I agree that this should come out. Because I don't know what the baseline is. If we agree to this, we are in effect saying that both the resort and the camp, as defined in that memo from Millspawn from November of 2025 of 770, that's it. And I don't think this board agrees that there's sufficient either septic or water capacity to deal with that at the levels that we believe should be used for the water capacity.
Septic and water, as far as I'm concerned, we're gonna look at that. We're talking here more about the traffic, but there's one other point I want to make, which is that traffic depends not only on the number of people, but it also depends on the practice. One of the things that we learned during somewhere in the middle of this process was that it wasn't going to be just one transportation of people over that would last for 8 weeks during the summer. It was rather going to be, they were going to be turned over every 3 weeks. I believe that was the commentary. So things like that, the exact way the camp is being run, the timeframes, frankly, where the traffic is coming from. I mean, when you deal with traffic, you're dealing with intersections and the level of service at the intersection. So we're going to look at it. We can talk about the baseline down the road. If you're going to argue at the outset that you're defining the delta as 0, therefore it's being pulled off the table, that's not going to be convincing.
We've said that we are going to put in the EIS, as much information as we need to establish what the current practices are. If we need to talk about what's happened since the camp opened, we can put that in there as well. But from deciding what the impact is, it's going to be based on what SECR says. So we're not prejudging this from the outset.
So let me just ask, maybe I can get more comfortable with what you're saying. Your first name again, I'm sorry. Adam. One of the things that I've found out is that the arrival and departure of children from there and adults from that camp can be all over the place in terms of timing. A lot of it depends upon particular holidays that occur. So for example, this past weekend, I think most of the campers went home because it was a special holiday, and they were all picked up by either taxi cabs or by family members, and all of whoever was there went home. That means they're all coming back. Some of them arrive individually in individual cars. Some of them arrive in buses. So the traffic patterns are not what I would look at as being normal traffic patterns, because they're affected by the variety of different movements of the children and their parents and back and forth from wherever they live to the camp and from the camp based upon the presence or absence of certain holidays. So, I'm trying to wrap my head around how you would do this traffic study with all of those relations, cars versus buses. If as a matter of SECR, basic SECR, looking at and stating baseline, that what's happening today is the baseline. Okay, if you tell me, yeah, okay. But there's so many variables with this that we've learned over the over the months and over the years, and just listening to the applicant explain to us things that have happened.
Here's the bottom line is though, 3 times a summer, people go primarily by bus. So, we only need to look at one of those times to see what the traffic flow is. Holidays, no holidays, they still are coming and going the same manner.
Jeff, it depends,
But
when
within
they're
that
coming on
three-
July 4th, then it might be different. Here's what we need. Here's what I would suggest, instead of this sort of theoretical discussion, I understand where you're coming from on this, and it's been very consistent, but here's what I would suggest. And I don't have the language in front of me, but we need to see levels of service that we're talking about here. Whatever the proposal is, if it's 3 times, if 6 times coming, going, this date, that date, July 4th, or whatever, a Saturday or a Tuesday or whatever. Let's see the levels of service. If the levels of service are at a level that is problematic, at that point, if you wanna make the argument, we're already doing that, which may or may not be true, and but if the argument becomes, we're already doing that, therefore we can't look at it anymore, we can pick it up at that point. But I think it's gonna be helpful to the board and helpful to the community to just see the levels of service that is in the proposal. Let's just see it. Once we see it, if there's a problem, my guess is you guys may want to just take mitigating measures of one form or another, but if the argument becomes, we're already doing this to you. We're already doing this, we can have we can discuss it at that point rather than.
But while we're on that point, if I could also, right within the sex transportation section, one sentence I never understood says, and it's about on page 6. Additionally, pedestrian movements, while encouraged, are also increasing. What study was done that you can determine that pedestrian traffic is increasing? Clearly from the prior use, significantly reduced because the stables were on the other side of the road. People were coming and going across that road, pedestrians, all day long. The kids are literally locked into the camp facility during the day. There's no kids walking on the road. So if you said decrease, that would be true, but clearly it should not say within this thing that the pedestrian traffic has increased without any even basis for saying. In observation.
I think we got the anecdotal information from the public comments of
So
the
someone
rest.
gets up and makes a comment and it becomes part of the fact.
Yeah,
pattern.
they came in with photographs. There's mass movement of pedestrians at times. Which happened in the Dude Ranch days, that hundreds of people got on the road
No,
collectively,
There was constant flow across the street to the state.
right to the stable.
that was during the
Not
operating hours.
Right.
That any flow from across the street, they had hourly trail rides, and it would go on the hour roughly. And our baseline here for the speedies that we have is for the youth events that took place, there were 4 occupants per room. So that's 504. Now we're talking about 770. So that is a change in the population, potential change in the traffic. There's what the board was shown a couple of meetings ago with many people on the road is far different than they were walking along the road, not crossing the road, which is what you would do at the stable. And there was, I can't tell you how many trail horses they had at the time, but it was not a significant number crossing the street as compared to the videos and the photographs that we was seeing.
Jeff, I think the comment was based upon, we've been getting these comments for months. Traffic between the other camp up the road and this camp. Quote unquote, significant traffic between the camps. That's what I believe that's referring to. An increase over what used to be the Dude Ranch. That's what that refers to.
I try a solution.
Sure, go ahead.
Proposal. On page 7, potential impacts. Delete the sentence. Move a statement on page 2 for general scoping, bottom of the paragraph, and have your little group decide what the baseline conditions are. Depending on what the impact area is. The proposal on the table was to.
No,
we-
your citation, what page?
Page 7,
Yep,
fourth paragraph, starts with potential impacts.
correct, okay, got it.
The version you have edited the first sentence. There's a proposal from a member to delete the sentence.
Right.
Um,
The
I'm-
traffic associated.
I'm proposing to delete the sentence and move the baseline condition definition question to page 2. Fourth paragraph under 4.0. And have the small group agree to. The last sentence says. The applicant will meet representatives of the planning board, including town engineer and or town planner, to agree on analysis methods to be used. You could add and define baseline condition.
Edit here.
Add it here. As opposed, otherwise,
Yeah. Okay,
otherwise it's gonna be a long conversation tonight.
yeah.
No, good point.
Adam, do you see what we're,
We're.
Good solution.
go to page 2,
So page 7,
4.
fourth paragraph down, potential impacts, delete is proposed by Jennifer, the first full sentence. And move a reference to, fourth paragraph under 4.0 on page 2. To agree on analysis methods to be used
Last
as
paragraph.
well as baseline condition.
And add the words as well as.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
All in one place.
Good solution.
yes.
No, Dave, in section 4,
Up on 10.
you said it was the, Dave, section 4, where you want to add some verbiage, you said it was the 4th paragraph.
It's the last
Our
paragraph.
4th.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the last paragraph, the
Okay, the
fifth
5th paragraph.
paragraph.
Where do you want to add those words?
At the end of the next to last,
To agree on
See the-
analysis methods to be used.
see the line that begins town planner?
Yeah,
To agree on analysis methods to be used.
yes.
As well as baseline condition.
Okay. As well as baseline conditions.
After as well.
Or edit it if you want to.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Jen,
Yeah, I like.
Adam, Jeff,
Good.
okay, thank you, Dave.
Okay, we've got, let's see here, under noise, page 8.
Yeah, you also eliminated the word notwithstanding.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, notwithstanding, so where you struck the sentence, the next
Yeah.
sentence.
Oh, you don't need a notwithstanding, yes,
So Dave, you got that?
yes. If I didn't, Torian would get it.
No, I want to make sure you get it because
I got it.
this has got to be done tonight.
Page 8, noise. Second paragraph under noise, the phrase on the first sentence was added. Shall be made by added collecting field measurements and by using New York State DEC guidelines.
We talked about that last time.
Page 8,
Page 8,
second
Noise.
paragraph under noise,
he added
first sentence,
determination of noise levels.
the phrase by collecting field measurements was added.
I have it.
You might.
You have it, but
Oh.
it was, okay.
Slowly, okay.
Okay, we have a proposal from Greg. Let's see here, sorry, it shut down on me. Greg's proposing on page bottom 4 and top of page 5. Greg Bolner, town engineer.
On the existing conditions, I mean,
The sentence starts, this will include, third line from the bottom.
Okay,
And goes through to the top of page 5.
Yeah.
To the end of that paragraph. He would propose to have that moved to under number 2 below it, groundwater resources due to discharge of wastewater. This is more relevant to wastewater. It's fine.
yeah, it talks about subsurface disposal.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not a
And
withdrawal.
then, we're good?
We're good.
And then,
Are they good?
Alina, you can make
Yeah.
your, Alina, you can make your pitch. But, it's been suggested that
Which
I would put under description of proposed action, page 3. We need some discussion of what's happening with the existing kitchen and dining hall.
Yes, exactly. What the plans are, the decommit is gonna be decommissioned, is it gonna be demoed,
Converted,
converted, we don't know, and be. If left in place, then the new dining facility is an additive source, it's not a replacement, so we need to.
That's a good catch because we came up with that. We originally thought that that old dining room was being converted to.
Well, we originally thought we don't have anything in writing, and we need to have a statement in writing. And you know what, it just popped into my head.
That makes total sense. I think,
It's just-
we're here for site.
You know, we
plan.
get so,
We're here for site plan approval as well. I mean.
yeah,
it
but we
makes
get
sense to
so,
explain what's going
into
on
the
with that.
weeds.
So Dave, do you know where that's going?
yeah, I don't know, yeah, if I, give the luxury of fitting in the right place and on the description of proposed
That's-
action.
I think Adam agrees with that.
Yes.
You know, if you're demolishing it, fine, if you're converting it to another use, fine.
Well, if they're gonna
We just
demo
need to
it,
know.
hold it, and then if you're gonna demo it, then you might wanna start thinking about permits. Lead,
Well,
asbestos,
yeah, but
I don't know.
go in the other direction. If you're gonna, for instance, reuse it for something, useful, like, let's say, office space. That's going to have impacts as well. I mean, depending on how the office space is utilized, it may increase the population of the site on certain days. And it might impact traffic as well. So it'd be helpful to
Yes.
begin to think that through, and that would also carry through on some of the issue areas. We probably don't need to specify it now, but we do need to begin to explore that.
Okay.
How many square feet are we talking about?
Pardon?
How many square feet?
I can't tell you that, but I did have a question. For kosher. Which we have one dairy, one kitchen dairy, one kitchen.
Yeah, they've got two
meat.
kitchens.
So then therefore you make the retaining that kitchen.
No, they have two in the
No,
new.
they're gonna have two in the building.
Okay.
No, all the kitchen area will be in the.
Yeah.
Dave,
That's what I have.
that's all you have. Alina, did you have anything else?
No, I think that was the light bulb moment. I
Okay,
had.
anybody from the board have anything other than typos?
We just talked about.
Zoria?
Okay.
Yeah, I am on part 3, page 3, and sorry, part 2. I still don't understand why we put in project purpose and need down below before the action rather than before the actions. Should we state project purpose and need and then describe the actions?
Can you say that?
He wants
Page number,
to,
please?
he wants to flip the sections,
Which
subsections.
Yeah, just put the project.
Page 3.
Yeah.
Well,
By
basically,
C.
you think you should flip B and C, correct?
Description of proposed action and project purpose and. They're really two aspects of the same thing.
Proposed action first, because you can't understand the purpose and need unless you.
Probably understand
We have
action, if you
proposed
don't know the
action.
purpose of the project.
So you say, this is what I'm gonna do. This is why I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's.
And these are the approvals, reviews, and
Yeah.
permits that are required. I
Yeah.
think it needs to. That's fine.
The-
I don't think-
What are you doing and what are you gonna do?
Okay, so what do we agree? We leave it alone?
I
That's
agree.
fine.
I agree.
All right, next,
Page 10, title.
What do we do, left it alone?
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
page 10.
Page 10 is item, Roman item 5 is twice.
Yes. Dave, Roman, numeral 5. Needs to be reading Roman numerals.
Yes, we added the cumulative impact.
Right.
We
Okay.
gotta get the, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, and page 12 is still blank.
yeah, just leave
Yeah,
it.
that's,
It's a formatting issue. Leave it.
Okay,
Liable to blow the whole thing up.
so you can write, so you can write notes there, sorry.
it's fine.
Anybody else? Okay, your turn.
Mark, we're gonna talk about the meeting. we'll just talk about the meeting.
Yeah, we have some time sensitivities since, halfway through the camp season and there's. Things that we're committing to here that we need to start on now, so. We would like if it's at all possible, to have a work session with your experts and the members of the board that are gonna be involved to knock all these things down in one session. Because come the last week of August, we lose the opportunity for collecting information in this camp season.
So I take that to mean that you want to get going on on talking about the hydrogeological study
Well, and traffic.
and traffic. So
They want the group meeting.
I agree. So why don't we do this rather than looking at calendars tonight? No, I agree. Why don't you somebody send myself and Stacy an email, of what you wanna, what you wanna discuss in this meeting we've been talking about. And the dates that you wanna do it upon, and we'll start to schedule all that. If you wanna do 2 or 3 things in one of these meetings, great. Yeah, I would suggest you don't do any more than 2 or 3, because they're all individually pretty big. So we're fine with that.
Mark, can you repeat the drop dead date for the campers?
Camp runs through up to the last week of August.
Okay.
This is what I think you. This year,
There's 4 weeks left in camp.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're meeting on Friday.
First.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, so Mark, tell us what you wanna talk about,
Hold it one second.
give us some dates,
We're
and then
having
we'll
the-
get going with the,
I can provide an email tomorrow, but I'll just say in general terms.
hang on a second, Helena, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
I was trying to hear what they were saying, so.
On the issue of noise, it's highly prescribed by your town code and by the DEC methodology. It's really a matter of agreeing on the perimeter locations where
Okay.
measurements would be made. I really think that's a 5-minute conversation. It's
Yep.
not gonna take up.
We're not gonna do it tonight, but we'll do it in that meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
Hydro, we responded to the comments that were provided by the planning board engineer, along with, mentioned in the letter that included comments from the planning board. We provided you that revised scope of work. I think it's a matter of hearing if there's any additional comments.
So let me comment on
Was
on
that the
They,
document that
hang
we
on, they
received?
sent the letter. I copied it to the entire board. I sent the letter out and I responded to it. I don't know if you saw it
Yes, I
yesterday or
did.
today. I responded to your secretary, I guess,
Right.
Comerford, Ms. Comerford. And what I said essentially is, okay. But let's wait to this meeting that we have to nail all those pieces down. So I did not agree in the response to you to what you are proposing.
I understand.
And I won't until the members of the board that are gonna be on the committee along with Greg are in that meeting. All
I
right,
just want people to understand, though, we specifically responded to the letter. that was
You did.
provided.
and yeah, I appreciate that. You responded to Greg's letter.
Right.
And I said, I responded to her, I think it was Sunday I responded.
Right.
All right, so just look for that.
I'll just add my personal opinion, so I'm the one person of to be in the room, but I actually think. Doing a pump test, and doing some of the studies on the groundwater out of camp. Will be more beneficial because you won't have the noise from camp water usage.
We-
On top of whatever we're trying to study, so we have better information.
The plan is to do it after camp season.
Right.
Oh,
Because the
Yeah,
camp,
they,
there's only so much storage. that the
yeah,
camp has.
so then.
Jen, the letter that he sent that I received over the weekend, Saturday,
See, I saw the responses to it, but.
I responded to it. But the letter was very, I mean, it was very explanatory. Some of the things we had talked about in terms of the timing,
Okay.
they're agreeing to. But I didn't agree to what they had
Okay.
right.
until you guys get together. So we'll leave it for that meeting. Agreed?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think the reason Mark was talking about hydro is because we're fairly far along in that one, and it would make sense to try and.
what's
Yeah.
today? Today's Monday. You know, I think it's possible that either this week or early next week, we can get that meeting going. You can just propose some dates, give us some options. Sure. All right. And I'll reach out and, you know, people have vacations, so we'll be interchangeable in terms of who's gonna be there, but Greg has to be there.
There's time sensitivity on.
I'm sorry, Mark.
There's time sensitivity.
Understood.
Traffic as well.
Would we be able to do a Zoom if all of us, if you're out of town and I'm out of town?
Yeah, you could, well, what, the meeting is a meeting either in person or by Zoom.
Okay.
Steve.
Dave, are you sure?
I'm just commenting on a memo we got today.
which is from,
It's from an attorney.
okay,
The public comment period on the scoping's closed, right?
so not gonna,
I pointed it out to your attorney.
okay. What else you guys got?
Like, lighting also probably would be of some importance while it's still in session.
Aesthetics.
I mean, there are some things that we can do very quickly at this
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
There are other things that are gonna take weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Well, for aesthetics, it may pay to have a site visit, or go to the neighborhood,
Sure.
because I've traveled Cherrytown
Okay.
Road,
Yeah, send that.
you're looking up a bluff, and there's a stand of trees, so unless you're looking at the entrance road, you can't see into the camp. So we do photo documentation of the condition. There was in our submission just before the positive declaration, I included previews from Google. But we need to have a meeting of the minds about where photos was taken, what things need to be simulated.
I appreciate all that. What else?
Valid.
Well, especially up on the ridge, because unless you have binoculars.
I think you're getting a sense that we hear you. We agree with some things, maybe not with others. I think the place to decide that is in this separate meeting where we will have hours if necessary and the experts around the table in order to make those decisions. That's all.
Besides aesthetics, what? Anything else?
Okay. Jeff, what else? Lamarck, Joel? Adam?
Thank you.
Okay. The board? I do have, just give me 1 second. The board is aware of the fact. And I'm flexible here as to if you want to defer to later in the meeting, but the board is aware of the fact that a couple of the board members came to me and suggested that we needed some additional help, expert help in the area of hydrology and septic sewer, that sort of thing. So myself, Dave, with Jennifer's advice and some advice from Helena, we identified some firms that might be able to help us. One was, and let's put this on the record, one was a firm called AKRF.
Oh, right.
Another one was a firm called HRD.
HDR.
My, what do you call this, kicking in? AKRF was not interested. Okay, great.
And
So they weren't interested.
which is.
HDR, we never actually did get a hold of the firm, but Dave identified somebody who had worked for them for 12 or 13 years. And also worked for the DEP in senior positions, deputy commissioner, the person in charge of water studies, a whole host of things for 20 years. So a total of about 33, 34 years doing this kind of work. So we chatted with him, Dave and I. I got a hold of his resume. I distributed it to the board along with his remuneration, what he was asking for. So what I'd like to do is, I believe we need somebody else to help totally disinterested third party who has experience in actually doing this with the New York City water system in terms of water quality, dealing with the various departments that create permits, DEC, Department of Health in Ulster County, Sullivan County, Orange County, et cetera, et cetera. So his name is Mike Principe. You have his resume. So I would like to tell him it's a go. And if the board is okay with that, I'd like to move on it, particularly in view of the fact that the first meeting is likely to be very soon, talking about the hydrology and the numbers and how do we measure it, the well testing and all that material. It's an area of expertise. His curriculum vitae is quite long. You know, look at his educational credentials and number of letters behind his name. He's got a PhD in biology, he has an MS in environmental science and water resources. He has a BS in natural resources. City University, State University of New York, and Cornell University. And as I said, he worked for the DEP and for HDR for years upon years upon years. So is the board okay with this? I don't think I need a vote. I just want your,
So I assume this would be in lieu of your resident, when it comes to these studies, you're not gonna have two engineers reviewing the same thing,
Mike's not an engineer.
right?
Mike's not an engineer.
Yeah, he's a hydrogeologist.
He's a hydrogeologist.
He's a water scientist, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
He actually led DEP's water lab for many, many years during, especially during the nineties, when the watershed program was developed. When I was working at Riverkeeper, working on, commenting on watershed, Mike Principe was one of the chief DEP people in charge of developing New York City's watershed program and basically running the water labs for DEP. Jen may know more details on that, but I mean, for at least 10, 15 years, he was doing this work, so very high level.
So Greg is our PE and Mike is. So if the board's okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And just Peter weighed in over the weekend. He called me and said.
Rick, if I may, the scope we talked to Mike Principe about is to participate in the small group. The district
Okay,
is to, no, over here, they're distracted. It is to participate in the small group meetings, and then review the EIS on that specific topic, which is the impact on groundwater. That section.
I'm sure you guys have reviewed his resume, and we don't have it in front of us, but it doesn't sound like he's a hydrogeologist, and I'm just interested, it sounds like he's a surface water guy as opposed to a groundwater guy, but I haven't seen his resume, just from your description of what he's been involved in.
Here's the resume. So take a look at it tonight and give me a call tomorrow if you have any questions, anybody.
You expect that he would be.
Also, Adam, I
Well,
just forwarded to you the letter that came in actually at 7 o'clock from a commenter. So
Okay,
you've got it basically in real time as well.
thank you.
Mike,
Your local aquifer law and the exchange of letters with the planning board engineer, Greg. There's reference made to following methodology in Appendix C of the New York Water Association, Rural Water Association. Is your expectation that there's something above and beyond what's stated in your code that needs to be done here?
no, I don't think so. I think he'll be very useful in from a very senior position that he's held to be able to walk through and negotiate through any differences of opinion in terms of what needs to be done in terms of the hydrology study. There's any number of different ways, I assume, that to do a hydrogeologic study. They're not defined by our code. It simply talks about a hydrogeologic study, but there's a lot of different ways to do it, the timing of them, how many local wells or adjacent wells are to be tested, what's a reasonable number of those. So there's a whole host of issues. And Greg is certainly adept at that, so is Jennifer. But I want somebody else with his gravitas to be able to make sure that it's done according to Hoyle. So, okay. Anybody have anything else? No. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, so I'll talk to Mike tomorrow.
A motion
Oh,
to finalize.
thank you. So
You have,
I'll entertain a motion from the board, or I'll make the motion that we approve as written and amended tonight, as written by Dave Church and presented this morning,
as edited.
and as edited. What we'll call the final scoping document for the DEIS. So I need a vote.
You're agree making the motion?
I'm making the motion,
second.
second the motion. Do you have that?
Well, who won the second? Because they were fully close.
Helena was the second, Jen was the first, so essentially you're approving what we talked about tonight with amendments. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, we need that. We gotta get this out the door.
That'll be, you guys will publish that to the END.
It'll be published in the ENV. What we do, as you know, it'll go into the ENV this Wednesday and it'll appear next Wednesday.
Who do you anticipate, I know your professional staff being at this meeting?
I anticipate that both Greg and Mike will be at the meeting.
Greg and Mike.
And then representatives of the planning board.
Yeah, I still gotta work that out with the members of the planning board based on your dates. Some may be on vacation, whatever, we may need to do a Zoom, but it'll be Alina, Jen, and or they're not, let's say interchangeable, no. Okay,
No offense taken.
okay, fine, I wanna make sure, I don't wanna step on anybody's. I don't wanna step on anybody's toes. I've been known to step on toes from time to time. I think I told somebody that they should fire their lawyer. But
You don't anticipate council being at these meetings?
there's no need for you to be at these.
Haven't been invited.
We don't need to pay you.
Not when it comes to the water. Now, if we get into some sort of legal,
But,
well, let me ask you this, Jeff. Is Adam gonna be at these meetings?
I don't. know.
It's working if.
Check, see.
Look, if Adam is not there, we don't need Dave there. If Adam's gonna be there and there's some particular concern, well, then I'll consult with Dave and he may be there, but I don't see a need for a lawyer.
Perfect.
Does
Okay.
that mean, so?
I didn't know that.
Hold on, will Jeff be at the meeting?
Is,
I'll let you know who.
is.
Because if there's council,
Sorry?
Yeah.
if there's council,
Yes.
then our council needs. to
Report
do
to
it.
You know that?
Yeah, he asked, somebody mentioned that. We'll do remote. Let me get some dates, Dave. Too many questions. I don't want to agree to anything until I see what the dates are, and then we'll work together on setting it up.
Okay.
I'd like to see, I think some people would like to be there in person, but remote is possible. We'll work it out. Where? I don't know. Where's your office?
Just outside, Walden, near the airport.
I don't think you wanna go there.
I don't think I want to go down. It's too far.
I'm here all the time.
Okay. Anyway, anybody else?
Reaching.
And I'm gonna entertain, guys, anything else?
No.
Gentlemen,
Thank
and
you.
I'm gonna entertain 10-minute break and then we'll go back to first two.
Thank you, family.
Thank you. Dave?
Mark, how are things?
So.
Extension.
So.
Oh, right, I conducted.
if she wants.
Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it.
You know. You would deal with it and think about it. It's not. It's professional, but. Yeah.
Steve, correct.
I think it's.
Can you save money to her?
Like, oh, for
And Mark Williams.
I saw it. I'm like, water.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah. We've made enough of them already.
About the sequence. You know somebody. This is a risky.
Oh, I understand.
But if you don't, presenting the person from outside.
That's why I'm
Saying, right, this is the perfect.
And the Bible.
I understand. So we could. Probably.
These aren't closed every month.
So you cannot get the last page because too much work is with.
The applicant did it first. Version is a piece of software.
That's the way.
Carried embedded coding in it.
So that's why I had.
So-
Right?
I don't know what it is. I think they converted the word.
You and Chris can sit over there.
PDF.
Okay.
And I said, can I-
And then people don't
can I
confuse
try
me.
to
Just move a couple of chairs around.
Formatting those. So, and these conversions.
So
Because
move
I don't know
so-
what portion I don't worry about what Stacy's got versus. People started marking stuff up.
Yeah.
They're using different words. So I said, let's have her clean up the formatting. And she did the best she could, but she still had that one blank page. And we just couldn't. I don't know, we just couldn't get rid of it. And I was spending too much time. And you know what? And I'm, it's relatively.
It's not that good. It's not that. It's not what someone like some documents. Everything in this project. This page is flash. It says, right?
Intentionally left blank. Yes, the scientific journals in there. I think it's because of, published these, right, sometime,
This one,
they want even pages.
Yeah.
But then,
That's what I heard on call the other.
then we got, and the real problem was. Everybody had a different version in front of them.
We're gonna be.
So
better-
suddenly, Rick and I suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm saying
You gotta
page
understand.
5.
Comments? When I was a work like that, yes. You switch and what comments you want to see, already change it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I told
So they had already rejected using trash. Because it's.
Average time to get a
some people
permit,
like it.
charging them.
Church doesn't seem to like it.
4.5 months.
It's okay if you have some movements, and there's, and there's.
I've been watching stuff.
There's a-
trying to.
and then there's somebody in charge of the house, right? And we didn't have that, so. And then I was, some people were marking it up, you would send me, on page so and so, line so and so, which was an easier way to do it. Some people were. Printing it out and marking it up and then giving me that.
And they've never seen it.
It just got to be a lot more. And, but anyway.
New York City, you've never seen a power queue, no one had ever done that.
Now, wait till we do this.
They've still got it permitted faster than this.
Many.
We actually.
Lots of discussion.
The storm.
Please go, heads up, my brain is coming.
Oh,
you, what's up?
Infrastructure.
We're putting one in here. And because they changed the regulations on buildings with the amount of phosphate. Like a business. You got a lower standard, so that's what we're putting in.
Yeah, we start.
That's what it is everywhere.
Yes.
well,
Is it, what is chance of succeeding, so the town doesn't enforce?
And most of the ones I'm seeing.
From your practice.
okay, general. Well, first of all, I think there's a chance of putting any person. But in the federal. Oh, yeah, somebody. State law, somebody violates.
Everybody's here.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, went more than 10 minutes. All right, so
The weeds.
Chris and Chris. So we spoke at length with the applicant, before you guys got here, before we did wrap Tom. We talked at length about their options in terms of zoning. So I think we're done with the zoning issue. They know what they need to do. Do you have any other thoughts or questions about zoning?
No, we've gone through the option, and we have a pretty good idea of what we're shoot for, so
So at some point in time, we need to know that.
more than likely, we'll go to the CEO tomorrow morning and see what we can.
Fine, just keep us appraised because you know, it means different things for us.
I think what the chair is saying, if the CEO doesn't go for it, then is there a chance you would give us a different site plan approval, or would you go to the ZBA?
We would probably concurrently, we would try to go through this to get this signed off on, but at the same time, go for the variance.
So you move it and apply for variance.
Right.
Okay.
All right, that gives us some direction. So now what I'd like to do, everybody has the document from Labella that came out Friday, I believe. And Labella took,
It's on the agenda.
okay.
It's on-
It's in the agenda. And so I asked Chris and both Chris's to be prepared to go through the items. I think there was 24 of them. And just to make commentary to the board as to what was agreed to, real quick, Chris, if it's agreed to, you don't need to explain it, just done. And then the issues that are still pending, absent zoning, we're not going to talk anymore about zoning. We would go through those. And then I have a couple of thoughts about what we do next. And of course, we want to hear from the applicant. Maybe you've had time in the ensuing week, Mike and company,
We will make time.
to make comments about the things that Chris is going to go through. So Chris, whenever you're ready.
This is the July 23rd, 2025 letter memorandum.
Yeah, there was, good evening, we issued our initial comment letter on July 17th, 2026. This memo was forwarded to the applicant. And then we had an informal meeting with the applicant, on July. The applicant, along with, the chairman, and Mrs. Farnwell was also present for that. We summarized our comments in a new memorandum dated July 23rd, 2026. At the direction of the chairman, we reflected what our initial comments were back in June, followed by our comments based upon their responses for July 17th. And then we identified the next steps based upon the meeting that we held.
So Helene, did you get an answer to your question? Which doc we're talking about? Okay.
Just making sure since
Okay.
I have both.
Okay,
But
so Chris, go ahead.
The chairman has already indicated, we went back and forth on the bulk requirements. In setbacks, I'm not gonna harp on that any longer. Executive summaries, I'll provide it.
First, you're gonna have to speak up because there's a hum in the back here.
Okay.
And there's also a hum somewhere over there from another. So if you can speak a little louder.
Sure, I can do that. So we've asked that the applicant, part of our discussion, we were concerned about the trips associated with the fueling operations that are going to continue on the site. And the use of the, I'm sorry.
You can turn it on.
We're having a hard time hearing over.
It's much better.
So
The purifier.
So Chris, we've got the 23rd memo.
Yeah, so just kind of walking through the big picture items here, we talked about, one of them we discussed was trips. We were made aware that they're going to continue to use the facility for fueling of the diesel buses for the school district.
So what number are you on, Chris?
I was giving an the executive summary here. I can go bullet by bullet if you want that instead.
Why don't you do that? That way they can respond.
All right,
First off, Chris, can we get a copy of that? Because I don't think we've received that particular memo. Are you saying that
this is the memo that
the
we,
17th?
yes.
23rd.
The 23rd was the memo I submitted to the chairman that summarized the meeting.
Okay, we have not seen that.
Okay, I don't think we've seen that.
Thank you. It's on,
Unbelievable.
it'll be a channel. Chris, give us a chance. I just gave up my copy. Let me get it on the agenda. we put copies of everything in the agenda.
Here, if you just pass this to the chairman, but we have.
You have another copy? Thank you, Lawrence. Was in the
You're not very helpful.
And Stacy, can you let James in?
Oh,
go to
Said he's not.
Collab.
I don't have to do that.
All right, here, I just follow that.
should be good.
Thank you.
It's attached to the agenda she sent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's also on the meeting go up.
Yeah, if you see the final meetings.
6.4.4 in Ecolab.
Yeah, not that one. It's the.
It's the 23rd.
7:23.
Okay, Chris.
All right, so starting with comment number 1 on our memo. It was determined that they're going to show the existing well and the water line location, so that we can confirm it doesn't exist with any improvements there, but contemplated for the site.
Okay.
Comment 2 and 3 have already been discussed with the applicant. Comment number 4 as it relates to if it was intended to remove the diesel tanks, it is not intended. They're going to continue to fuel the existing diesel buses within the school district at this facility. So that we ask that a bus removing plan also be provided along with the fire truck plan. So that we can not only determine that nothing will be impacting the eventual fire, but we've also asked that they provide specific hours of operation as to when the fueling will take place. That includes a note on the plans indicating they will not be fueling during peak AM or PM hours, and so we ask that those hours be specified.
Like at any point in time, you guys want to stop and discuss it.
In regards to that particular one for the fueling of the diesel buses, we will indicate on the plans. It's not indicated on the plans. We will indicate that we will only fuel the buses during non-peak hours.
Okay.
I believe it's in our documentation, but it's not necessarily on the plans, and we'll clarify that.
Number 5.
One of the comments we made was we were concerned about the fact that we'll still be maintaining the diesel buses on the site. And we wanted to confirm the parking locations of the diesel buses. It was agreed that the diesel buses will be parked in the maintenance facility, and there'll be no outdoor storage of the diesel buses that are being repaired. So the applicant did agree to that on the call, but
We did agree to that on the call, the plans, there must have been a miscommunication. We will remove that from the plans and just indicate that only diesel buses will be housed on the interior of the facility overnight.
Okay.
I think as the board is aware, this particular parcel lies within the Aquifer Overlay Protection District. And that along with proximity to Randolph Creek is certainly a concern, potential for contamination from an avenue fire that may come to play here. So we asked for them to discuss some protocols within the runoff. As we alluded to in our earlier letter, the primary strategy for containing the runoff is prevention, as was presented in their July submittal. We are still of the opinion, and we shared with the applicant and the chairman, Mr. Farmwell, during our meeting, that we think to the greatest extent practical or preventive strategy should be proactive containment of firefighting runoff and management of any effluents that may potentially leach into the ground to prevent contamination. It was discussed during our meeting that the applicant will provide a more robust EV fire risk analysis, and along with alternatives for containment, physical containment of runoff on the site, and that the board and its consultants will evaluate the applicant's site-specific risk analysis alongside the alternatives for physical containment options to determine whether the dedicated physical runoff containment infrastructure is required for the facility.
So Mike, this one, we probably spent a good half hour at the meeting talking about this one. Do you have any thoughts about?
From our standpoint, we are standing by the prevention side of things. letting the buses burn out, and that's our containment isolation area. In regards to physical improvements, we have looked at several different options, and we are still running down design and costs on that. We're hoping to have a better handle on that this week, to provide to the board.
You also asked us to determine if any other electric school bus location in the state of New York had a containment system around it. We've surveyed, we haven't completed, but we've surveyed the 3 manufacturers who supply buses here in New York State. We've surveyed their dealers. We've also gone to our competitors who operate the majority of electric school buses. We've gone to the World Resources Institute, which provides the electric school bus initiative, which supports school districts in their electrification effort. To date, the response, this is not total. We've gotten all back, but to date, none have any deployment that has been done that requires a containment system in the state of New York, nor any in the continental United States.
Are they housed on concrete?
If they vary all over the place, some are
But
concrete,
your
some are
site is
asphalt,
also gravel.
some are gravel. Parking lots, school bus parking lots vary all over the place.
Could I share something?
Sure, go ahead.
So one of my colleagues is the former CEO for Pattern for Progress. It's the regional planning organization. And I asked him about this, because he's undertaken numerous EV studies, regional EV studies. And he indicated to me that for electric buses, most of them, they just take a diesel site and convert it to electric with no site plan approval required at all. There's no permits or anything required for any of it. And while there may be some training involved for fire, this isn't something that's being asked regionally, at least for the Hudson Valley, that he's aware of.
All right, so let's talk about our sites specific, which the difference perhaps between ours and others is it sits on the aquifer. And the Rondout is within a stone's throw, and the property drains towards the Rondout. And let's also be aware of the fact that there's probably diesel leaking through the, not an excuse, but leaking through the gravel already. So let me make a suggestion. Would the board be receptive to asking for, instead of gravel, concrete pad for the area where the bus would be placed if it's in dire straits? So it's a concrete pad as opposed to the gravel. And would the board be receptive to, my view towards containment is you literally have a series of berms that are made of some material that absorbs whatever's running off. Would the board be receptive to some sort of, there's going to be a drainage retention pond, at least there's one cited on the site plan, correct? Isn't there
There is no retention.
No,
there's no retention pond?
This sheet flows, and then there is a section that there's a direct.
All right,
pipe.
so is there a way, wherever the drainage heads towards the Rondout, is there a way to interdict it with whatever kind of absorbent material that gets changed periodically? I've seen those used in other projects we've done in drainage treatment ponds or drainage retention ponds, where there's actually treatment material that's placed in the drainage course that absorbs any material that may drain off as a result of a fire or as a result of an accident of some sort. Is that something that makes sense?
Your Chairman, but if I may, I think what you're referring to is sometimes there are sort of absorbent type stormwater protectors
Right.
that sit within a catch basin.
Right.
And it's associated with runoff that may come from.
Okay, so does
parking
that
lot,
work in this
like
case?
traces of hydrocarbons.
Right.
I don't know of absorbent material that is available for placement. Well, one is the drainage structure that's out there is the DOT's drainage structure. You'd have to get permission from the DOT in order to put any sort of material within that. But I'm not certain of any materials that are your employees.
Okay, so that's a pipe dream.
Contaminants associated with battery fire.
Okay, so let's go back to the, The concrete, would everybody like to see concrete instead of gravel?
We suggest a paved surface, not necessarily concrete.
Well, paved surface is gonna burn through, right?
Not necessarily.
Asphalt, is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Asphalt would burn.
It's gonna burn through.
Yeah, what's the problem with a concrete pad? Is it the cost?
Cost is significant.
A lot of buzz.
Do we know?
Well, it is-
40-foot
yeah.
diameter circle.
help me. For one bus?
Yes.
For the burning bus, and what was the diameter
It's a
circle?
40-foot diameter circle.
Okay.
The bus is what, 20
Is
feet?
it-
Do we know
That's
that's
why
gonna
I
be
can't,
the
I thought,
job?
oh, it's 40 feet from the wall. Yeah, the isolation is actually larger than that when you do the total.
So my question is, do we know that that's going to do the job that we want it to do, or are we just sort of?
Yeah, but where's the water gonna run?
Yeah, I mean,
Where's the water gonna run?
Right.
I don't
Where's the
wanna,
water gonna run? You collect it in the concrete and.
You would have to design it
You have to collect,
with a slope, right, and have it berms and have it. It's an engineered, it would be an engineered structure.
Is the board interested in seeing something like that?
I definitely think you should explore it.
I don't think it's necessary personally. Mostly because. So my perspective on this is that this is an unfunded mandate. And we have an opportunity here to get funding for something, for save our schools $10 million. Based on preliminary conversations, none of this is being required by other places who are implementing this stuff. And I would point out, we approved of an application and they put in EV chargers and they were in the aquifer protection overlay. Granted, that was for cars, but we didn't have them do anything.
What was that, the Accord Social? Yeah.
They put in EV chargers, they were gonna have electric vehicles parked on site, and we didn't ask them for any of this. So given the circumstances, I'm not one to say, well, everyone else is doing this, that's not how I do things, but under the circumstances. And given what we've heard and given my conversations, I don't think it's necessary.
And if I could just add one other entity, we interviewed our contractors as well who build infrastructure like this across the globe. Our primary contractor we use is Bechtel. I think everybody knows Bechtel is. Bechtel is not aware of any EV structure they've ever built anywhere that has a containment option around it. They also build battery electric storage systems, BESS. They are not aware of any BESS system that has had to have a containment system put on it. They've seen some that have had to have fire suppression put on it, but not containment for runoff. We can't find anywhere in the literature. Now, I'm not saying we've surveyed every electrical infrastructure deployment across North America. But what we've done today, people we've talked to who do this every day, there's no record of there being the need for a containment system.
So is it the case, all right, so let's follow along that line of argument. Is it the case that if the fire company agrees or has agreed that the bus is not going to be fought with water, the fire in the bus is not going to be fought with water, it's just going to be allowed to burn off? Is it the case that if it's allowed just to burn off, that anything is going to go anywhere near the Rondout? There's no water to take whatever chemicals are produced from the burning bus. There's no water that's going to carry it towards the Rondout. And so therefore it's not a problem.
I would make even the argument when you have a diesel bus which burns, you put water on it there, you would have a much more.
They would use water
yeah,
for a diesel
I think
bus.
that's true, and also, I mean, when we learned about the preventative measures. And the early warning system, I mean, to me, that's the safety system that really made the difference here.
Right.
I would agree with Tim, I had the same observation, it made me much more comfortable in terms of safety. And I feel there's always risk in every project, but I think it's a very calculated and acceptable risk in my view.
I would also support maybe something that requires, like, I recognize that the fire department has concerns. So maybe we could see if the applicant would be willing to do some training to get them a little bit more comfortable with.
We do that at every point.
Did you already
Without question.
propose that?
No, that's mandatory. That's an R.
Several times.
No, but I believe it's
But we've
been
even
proposed
proposed that.
several of the meetings.
Because the fact is that we already have. I mean, in the aquifer protection overlay specifically, there's lots of people with electric vehicles. People can pull a
Right.
building permit tomorrow and they can have 5 Teslas parked out. And there's no, you know what I mean? So
Correct.
this is an issue the fire department still has to deal with regardless of whether this project happens, the risk of some.
True.
You
This,
know.
this has a greater density, but.
So is the board
Well,
okay
but the
with,
flip of it is. We use lithium iron phosphate batteries.
Right,
Tesla uses lithium ion,
right.
which is a more significantly fire risk. Even New York City has a separate code now, which is much more relaxed for lithium iron phosphate batteries than lithium ion because of its lower
Right.
heat need.
Okay.
And then you also have to remember, because I know a memo circulated around battery electric storage systems. We don't abuse these buses on battery charging. We charge them very, very slowly. We do not want that battery to get hot. That degrades the battery. So we automatically have a system. We charge at about. In New York City in the dead of winter, we will probably be charging at 14 kilowatts an hour. Half the rating, less than half the rating of the charging station. In the summertime, we'll be down 8 to 9 kilowatts an hour charging that bus.
Well, doesn't that also save on your electric?
It stays on our electric, but no, I mean, fuel does.
No, but
Fuel is
it's,
fuel does.
But it's the
Main-
max loading
But
also.
It's the longevity of the battery. We do not want that battery to get hot. It makes it last long.
Correct.
I mean, I'm told when I charge my Apple Watch only to 80%, it lives much longer. So.
Exactly. And we do that too. We charge to 80%. Actually, sometimes we don't even charge that much and it's shorter routes.
One thing I tell applicants from time to time in these conversations is they can, applicants will often say things to disabuse a potential issue, but what I'll say is that can be fine, but that becomes a condition of the approval. If we were to put lithium ion phosphate buses as a condition of approval, so we wouldn't have the alternative, which in these burn much less risk of fire, right?
Correct.
Would
Substantially.
that solve board's problems and would that solve Chris's problems? If we just make it a condition of approval that we're talking about lithium iron phosphate buses and that's gonna be one.
LFP is the acronym.
okay,
LIP,
LFP, Larry Frank Papa.
Yeah,
what's the F?
It's the iron, FE.
it's the most modern.
I quit after high school chemistry.
Trust me, my team has.
That's why it's been Lloyd.
all right, so you need to come up with something other than gravel for this containment area. I think the board is more,
No,
We'll just make it.
you just said.
Requirement to do lithium iron phosphate, LFP.
is that okay with the board?
Yeah, because again, you need to
Okay.
correct the water, otherwise.
Okay. It all assumes that the fire department is not gonna fight this with fire, with water. Which creates the potential for significant runoff. And you guys would, so a lot of these will become conditions within the approval.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay.
Could you also provide us with all the materials which you have received from the studies about safety?
It will be just a
Or
summary
it's a
email.
summary
Yeah,
of
we're
this,
not
like-
doing it officially. We're trying to do it fast. It's me calling my colleagues around the country. Fortunately, we
I
are,
mean, if you
even though
give
we're,
us- If you
Yeah.
give us
Sure,
seven,
sure.
just
Yeah,
support
that
the
would be
updates.
no, I'm documenting it all, so.
Yeah, it supports your application.
All right, so
We do that.
number,
Unfortunately, our competitors don't mind being named in this. They know we work
You
together.
don't have to,
Yeah.
but you can say here.
okay, so number 6, I think we've resolved. Sounds like we resolved number 6. And Mike, I know it's more paper, but I want to see something back from you guys confirming what we've said here.
Fair enough. Yep, we can do that.
Number 7, Chris,
Just for the record, so the planning board doesn't want to see any stormwater improvements.
Chris, I'm sorry, I can't,
For the record, the planning board does not want to see any stormwater improvements geared towards containment unless the fire department indicates they may use water on at the site. Is that correct?
well, the board does not want to ask for stormwater
That's
containment.
what
Right. And I mean, we can't tell the fire department what to do, but it does appear as though everybody here, including you, Chris, and certainly applicant is saying, and industry experts are saying, you can't fight these things with water. It's a waste of time and water. So I don't think we're gonna come to the point where the fire department is going to go against their own industry's best practices. And that seems to be an industry best practice. Okay,
I have just a quick question on this. If there were a fire and so certain chemicals or whatever, residues end up in the soil, but let's say because there's no water, they're just, on the
Well-
site.
Have you driven down the road and seen the results of a car fire? Everything's sitting there on top. Your metals just won't go to molten, they don't go to pure liquid, they just draw and collect right there on the surface. The organics volatilize and are released into the atmosphere.
okay, so I don't think you finished this question.
What we're relying on here is that the fire department's not using water.
Mhm.
But what happens if 2 days later it rains? I guess my question is, if one of these events occurs, is there some sort of immediate cleanup?
Yeah,
Or is it
no, we
later
have
out,
an
so
entire-
that the day later it rains and now we've got the same problem?
No, we would have a response contractor come in and remove all the material, because we want to get that battery out of there. We want to get the whole system out and recycle.
And what's your basic time frame on that?
It's usually less than a week. We've only had one fire related to an EV, which was not a battery fire, it was related to the defroster. So our process went in there, actually the OEM, the manufacturer of the bus, showed up within a week and claimed it and took it back.
I would like to throw this out to the board then. If the rationale for not going further on this is that the fire department's not gonna use water. Is a 1 week response period, I'm thinking now just generally about rain, could be something else, but it's still rain. Is a 1 week response period satisfactory, or do we want to try to load something else in here?
Less.
Why don't we do this too? We can do this.
This becomes
the community, because. It's like, we don't know if there's gonna be an impact, and just applying less time is. It doesn't seem to have any scientific basis here. And
Okay.
Why don't we offer this?
That's my-
I understand your
Everybody
concern.
has to say.
I understand the concern. So we'll offer this, once it cools, which generally takes a day, we will cover it with some type of plastic material.
That's what I
Which will
was thinking.
shield it from any water.
Then I was thinking it
Getting
was
off
off
to it.
be a very.
People happy?
Yep.
It's gonna be conditional approval.
Covered basically.
Yep.
No relation.
I'm writing this all down. And then
And
you
that
have,
would
what do you
be
call it, a
the
containment
condition.
response team? That comes anyway,
Other
or-
than that,
I mean, yeah, we
They gotta cover with-
we
they
got an
gotta cover
emergency
with
response.
something-
Anytime we have a thermal event of any of our vehicles, be it a light duty car that's gasoline, we have a response team that responds to start a study.
but they're gonna come.
they're gonna cover it with
Would it be
impermeable plastic, right?
Useful to use language like will be remediated by
Yes.
licensed. You could say something like
Yeah.
it would be remediated by.
Yep.
I don't know what the licensure is.
We'll tinker with it, let's.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah.
get going with it.
So Mike, all this needs to be in that.
Yep.
Response back.
Yeah.
Number
That's
7,
fine, Thank you.
Chris, number 7,
Those are just some of the reference that were previously used in the 2020 building code. We asked that they use the most recent building code, which is the 2025, with all their applicable codes and standards. Number 8, the comment was addressed on our prior submittal. Comment number 9, we had asked what the proposed isolation area consists of.
okay,
The response indicates that, as we just discussed, it's a combination of asphalt, and gravel, and there'll be appropriate signage and striping. We just asked for clarification as to where the signage will be placed and what portions of the contained area will be striped.
okay,
Obviously, it's going to be portions that are asphalt will be striped, there'll be signs in the gravel area, not parking based on the board's assessment of item number 6 earlier.
10,
The power cube appeared to be separated by a site security fence. That's how it will be maintained. They have assessment that they had access along the frontage
so that was agreed to.
of the property.
Number 11,
Number 11, we indicated then that the photometric plan that was provided was incomplete based upon section 140-20 H4 of the town code.
okay,
That'll be in on Wednesday.
sorry,
We'll have that to you on Wednesday.
wait,
We're,
12,
we're gonna try to, Stacy, we're gonna try to revise all the plans and have 6
Okay,
physical copies to you by the end of this week.
okay, number 12,
We asked the clarification as to whether a security fence will be proposed around the property and what's the desired height. I think the most recent plans, have clarified fences that are going to be removed. The previous plans said fences were going to be removed and relocated on site. Now that we understand that they're going to be removed, it's going to be open, the site, it's no longer going to be, all the buses are no longer even in the fence area. So they've clarified that on the most recent plan.
So Mike, this is another thing you need to clarify on the new site plans.
It's clarified on the revised plan.
And the ones that were received this afternoon, it's on the,
It's clarified.
Yep.
they clarified their fences that they're removing. So
Okay.
they're removing it, it'll no longer be a fence.
And you're not gonna provide any other security.
Not at this time, no.
Number 13. If the board objects to any of this, please pipe up. 13,
Number 13, we just provided a note that we wanted to see a elevation of the power cube along the 9. They provided a elevation of the power cube. Our concern one was, potential screening based on the sheer size, fit, and color of it. It was a bright blue. I don't know if anybody's taken a look at that. Our recommendation was to use more of an earth tone color if they may, and provide some species of screening that are dearly.
I would point out to the applicant that if you do end up before the ZBA, that might be a help to you, that they're gonna look at impact on the community. In this case, an impact for something in some type of facility like this in the buffer, maybe visual, and so.
Name the color,
Yeah, we're happy to.
name the color, we'll paint it whatever.
The
color
earth
you got.
tone.
Earth tones are-
Well, it's, if we can get maybe a little bit better than that, I mean, because there are 6,000 colors in the color palette. Is there some recommendation, because I don't want somebody to come back, that's not.
Is there a recommendation from the board?
you know the fence you have up there now, the busted up wooden fence? Isn't there a wooden fence there already?
Behind it, the one behind it?
I think so.
green and brown.
Whatever color that is. It's a brownish color. It's
Like a
tan.
brownish color?
It's a washed down brownish color.
Gray is more like a rock.
Nice surroundings, so.
You know what? I'm half
Whatever.
colorblind. If somebody has a better color,
I don't do colors, that's why.
I just don't want blue, orange, pink.
Yeah,
I don't.
How about we submit the color before we?
Wonderful. Don't give me 6,000 colors.
There's something that's much more.
Okay.
Red is the benefit for historic
Yeah,
colors.
hang on one second. Dave's got it. Hang
That's
on.
where I'm going.
There you
Where I'm
go.
going.
Your,
Dave?
your fence, we just gotta make sure you're complying with the new code.
what do you got?
Well, I don't know what it is. I haven't looked. It's,
Okay.
you don't need my eyes. You don't need a fifth professional looking at the fence. It,
The code
it
is.
can't exceed 6 feet in the front setback, 8 feet high, and the
But isn't it?
rest of it.
It's an
It's
existing.
an existing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna fence it again.
No,
No,
they're removing section
Oh.
of the fence.
They're gonna shield it with plant material.
Right,
The power cube, yes.
Right.
we agreed on it.
And
Well,
again,
agreed
I'll let
on
you
it.
guys choose. You're gonna be worried about the deer.
Right, we talked about the one.
We talked about the one.
On Monday, yeah.
Okay.
And I had deer in the yard yesterday, they didn't eat them again, so.
Okay, number 14.
So 14, we asked for some information as far as a fire hazard assessment. We discussed it the other day as well, so they're gonna give us some more information about the fire hazards of lithium iron phosphate batteries. And their experience with it, make that part of the record. So,
Were you satisfied with that additional material did you get a chance to look at their material?
so we did not receive a fire hazard analysis yet. We discussed it on the call the other day. So the other day, the phone call was focused on the emergency response plan. And pretty satisfied with where we're at right now. I actually just got the updated document right before this meeting. I was looking for it before. So I think they've addressed a lot of issues. I really like the fact that they provided us 2 different versions of that document. And I think that's gonna give the fire department an opportunity to look at the document, see what works best for their organization. So I was really pleased with that work and how we collaborated the other night.
So are you looking for under this number 14? Are you looking for anything else from these guys?
Yeah, so number 14, I'm looking for some more information about the risks associated. They provided in the last letter. A lot of information about their historical experience with the lithium batteries, the electric school buses. I just think that should be part of this as well, so part of that fire hazard.
We can put that
analysis.
in there. We're working on that narrative now.
So they were, yeah, that was based on the phone call we had the other day, we were gonna get.
And
some of that.
specifically the LFP buses they're talking about?
Yes, specifically about the elephant.
All right, number 15,
So 15, I just touched on, so they've done great strides with the emergency response plan, I'm pretty pleased with where we're at. My philosophy with emergency response plan is a living, breathing document, it's gonna be subject to changes over time. Incorporating all the stakeholders, maybe changes in the site design or how things are responded to in the future based on more information we have about new technology. So I'm very pleased with where we are with the emergency response plan as of right now.
okay,
Number 16, can't say the word, maneuvering plan, thank you. They provided that in the documents, happy with where we are there.
number 16, you're okay.
We did just ask that the existing striping where they're showing the maneuvering,
Thank you.
that they add no parking signs and they seal coat the existing striping, so it's not inferred as a parking space.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So all these things are gonna be on the new site plans, okay? Number 17,
17, so 17 they've addressed, so it's in coordination with emergency services stakeholders. We still have to work with the local fire department incorporating those documents with their comments. And I mean, you suggest a code enforcement officer, but we're working towards that.
all right, so we'll get to the meeting with the fire department, I have an idea about that,
Very good.
we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
You didn't.
Expedite that.
Yeah,
18.
It's comment not the best. On the document. On the 20.
He just got some information
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
walked into
Yeah.
this meeting.
We just had a call
I get it, I just want to make sure because.
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, so this document was written before we had a call on Thursday,
Yeah,
so,
okay.
so,
I just
we
want to
were,
make sure because it contradicts a little bit.
no, I apologize. So we were directed by the chairman to get together and work on some of that stuff together, so, which we did.
18,
18, we had some discussions before the meeting about where the code and what is required on the code. And they're working on a plan with that. They had a call with their electrical engineer this evening. And I think we're gonna hopefully find a solution.
That's correct.
So,
That's great.
19,
so this is gonna fall into the emergency response plan and having those documents incorporate and what's gonna happen if we do have a battery that's heated, if we do have a battery that's on fire. We do have a battery that's subject to some sort of damage, whether it hits something or it gets water in it or something like that. That's all gonna be part of that emergency response plan and some of those documents. Right, we were incorporating that in the documents as well.
okay,
Which I believe a lot of that information as well is in those two documents.
Yeah, that came in today.
you're saying like the two documents we just got from them?
Yes.
It's all, okay,
That's correct.
and you guys have those two documents?
They do now.
Just received.
Okay, great. Number 20, Chris?
20, so as far, there's nothing that provides a standard, this is how far your buses need to be. So my comment was based on the documents provided and the initial review was really a lack of consistency. There were different numbers throughout it. I think we've addressed that issue. So I'm satisfied.
So it's a
there.
site plan issue that they. okay.
Correct.
21,
All right, so 21, they made it very clear that they're not doing any changes to the building, so 21, we can close out.
22,
22, they've incorporated some of the training documents into the documents I saw the other day, and that's gonna be part of an ongoing process where the staff for the school district, the drivers of the buses are all gonna get training as well as the fire department.
23,
It goes back to my previous comment about risk assessment. Which I believe they're addressing currently. I haven't seen a document yet, but they're currently addressing it.
and that's the one we just talked about.
Yeah, we did the fire hazard.
Fire
Fire
hazard
hazard,
assessment,
yes.
yes.
24,
Emergency shutdown procedures, they'll be incorporated into the emergency response plan.
okay, That's what the firemen do to shut everything down, is that?
Yeah, so hypothetically, if there's a charger on fire or a bus on fire, the fire department, one of the first things they should do after a size up is shut down the electric to the system.
Okay,
So,
so that could be the system on the bus as well as the cube.
it could be the cube, so it could be the system on the bus. The key is, the fire code currently requires no less than 20 feet, no more than 100 feet, which is what they're working with their electrical engineer on.
Okay. 24.
Which we feel we have a good.
Yeah, we think we have a solution to it.
24 we just discussed, so that's gonna be part of it, I apologize, right? We just
Yes.
discussed that, okay,
Number 25.
so that's my bad, I apologize. So the emergency response plan goes back to my previous comment, it's a living, breathing document, we gotta make sure the fire department has their opportunity to, be a part of that process and, develop a plan that works for them, their organization, and how they operate.
Okay, does the board have anything? I have some resolutions regarding all of this that I want to get to. Does the board have any comments?
I just have one thought. It sounds like there's a lot of really good consultation going on here between Novella and the applicant, doing a lot of work specifically on the response and the risks. Are you planning on producing a document, not only of findings, but also a document that can be used in essence as a condition, like a statement of procedures or something like that, that gets, so that the promises that are made and the representations can become part of the site plan approval?
Yeah, I'm happy to produce a memo once the documents are complete, basically relaying, documents were reviewed, I'm satisfied with where it's at, I could
The
put.
things that we
something
need to
like
make sure that the representations and the expectations are actually
Yeah,
conditions going forward.
so the current emergency response plan was like 40-something pages, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was around there. Forgive me, I read multiple emergency response plans a day, so they all kind of get
As one
messed
does.
together. So, yeah, I think their current document's around 40 pages, and I would assume a fire hazard analysis based on what we have here is probably gonna be 20-25 pages. So I'm not gonna hold them to those numbers, but those are what I would see in a normal project like this.
If the board wishes, we could somehow, if it's in a proper form, we can make that basically a condition of approval, so that the understanding is basically enforceable.
It may be worthwhile to also include those documents on the site plans as well and referencing.
Either way,
Okay.
same thing.
Yeah, the conditions, if that's what you're referring to, conditions that we have in the decision always go on the site plan.
Yeah, but also those particular documents, so, the court enforcement officer, if they're looking in the field and they have a set of plans, they can also.
Yeah.
Readily available as opposed to trying to look through a resolution.
No, you've got good points.
Sometimes.
The conditions on the site plan approval are for the lawyers, the conditions on the site plan are for the CEO.
We can include those in the general notes.
Okay.
All right, so one of the things that is apparent is that you need to meet with the fire department. So I'm actually gonna roll this into a resolution that I'd like the board to. That the applicant will set up a meeting, I make a resolution or make a motion. The applicant is responsible and needs to meet with the fire company. Along with the planning board's engineer, Labella, appropriate members of the board to resolve all the remaining fire safety issues, documentation. Within the next week and a half.
So I apologize. So I will be out of country from the 1st through the 10th.
Okay,
So I will not be available to facilitate.
so the first is next,
It's Saturday.
the
I
Saturday.
think Saturday,
This
and I'll be
week.
back the Monday after that.
Okay. All right, so it'll have to be when you have the appropriate staffing to do that. So you guys need to reach out. Or who believes they have the best rapport with the fire company at this point in time? Peter's not here. I'd ask him to set it up.
We
I'm happy to
set it
go.
up last time around.
You guys set it up?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'd like the board to agree with me, vote on the fact that we need to have a date for when the next meeting with the fire company is. to resolve all remaining issues. I'll leave it at that.
The only,
So moved. Can I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing if I could
Go ahead.
have you add to your resolution is any outstanding comments in the fire chief's letter dated June 30th, 2026. He had some additional comments beyond what we had specified in our comment letter.
I thought all the things the fight, we agreed, anything that the fire chief had sent us in writing were gonna be encompassed in your letter to us.
He also spoke about water source, which was in his letter.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, so that's not something that,
Was there anything else other than water source?
Chris,
Yes.
is water source, I thought they're not gonna use water.
Yeah,
It's exactly what this.
necessary.
I can
Why would you do
only,
it?
I can only tell you what the fire chief said.
Was it, but at
I
the time,
can't
was
speak
it
on
his,
his behalf.
was that his expectation that he was gonna use water?
I don't necessarily, I don't want to comment on his expectations for fighting a fire and tactics. I think in the event that if there was a fire that may spark or ignite, maybe
A secondary fire.
a secondary fire, whether it's the building, a fence, or a neighboring property, he had spoken about potential water source.
I guess, you know,
What about now?
I wasn't there at the meeting for good reason.
Well,
But I don't know why. The source of water is whatever the source of water is today for any fire, for house fire, whatever. We had talked at one time about having a stand-up pump, whatever they call it, a stand-up hydrant. Down by the pond that's on Kelda's property, is a big pond in the back. And he had actually agreed to host a standpipe in the back in order for them to draft from that pond. If we don't need water for the fighting of the fire with the,
Distance.
they were gonna run trucks, he was gonna allow them to
Oh.
go up and
to
down their
truck?
property.
Okay.
And they would be able to run trucks up and down and draft from the pond in the back. But that would assume that they were fighting the bus fire with water, and we've just said that doesn't seem to make any sense,
Yeah,
given
I mean,
all the documentation and
It
all.
seems like this would be
So,
what's gonna be discussed in their meeting
right,
and figured out.
so Chris, I hear you.
Yeah, all I'm saying is there are some other comments that he made that didn't necessarily make our list that you may want to put together a response to that as well. So that
You want to put a response to them?
the applicant put together a response so that.
To the fire.
To the fire.
How about instead of why can't you just sit down and go through it?
Yeah, I thought we already addressed that, saying that we don't anticipate the fire department using any water whatsoever. And letting it burn out. Anything secondarily, I mean, obviously, they have their own practices once it gets past our property line.
Well, so
I think we can leave that up for discussion with the fire department when we meet with them again, and the other item of which we talked about was some Wi-Fi. During our meeting with the fire department, was concerned about, I think you use Wi-Fi to monitor your buses. Battery levels, that the fire department brought up some potential Wi-Fi issue. We can also discuss that.
That's what the meetings. I talk about, I mean, we've done a study that shows we don't have interference. That's one of the first studies we do.
All right, that wasn't
But-
shared,
but that
that
was-
wasn't shared with the fire department, so
Yeah.
that was one of.
No, but not everybody knows, you
Yeah.
know, I wasn't at that meeting, but we have an IT team that actually does a study for where we can get, because we do use cell phones
So that,
and signal to.
that was one of the concerns, so that wasn't addressed at our meeting, so if you have the study, that would be great to give the fire department to help alleviate some of their concerns.
So Chris, before your unification, will you set up a date with the fire department?
I will do my best, yes.
And that's agreeable with the gentleman. Peter will be there. I spoke to him. I want to be there. I don't think we need, anybody else have a burning desire to be there? Okay, so it'll be, no pun intended.
Peter gonna be there.
So I'll be there and Peter's gonna be there. So would you set that up? And the location should be over at the fire department. No Zoom. We gotta be able to look at each other and haggle through this. No Zooms. All right, so we'll do that. Are you clear on what you need to get back to us with?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys seem to be clear in terms of summarizing, Chris Meter, all the fire safety things,
Happy to do so.
and to wrap them together, the verbiage in such a way that we can eventually make them into conditions for the approval.
Okay.
Okay. And Chris Lapine, if there's anything that we're forgetting, just make sure that that's included
Understood.
in whatever it is that we're gonna be going into this meeting with the fire department. All right. You're gonna take care of talking to the CEO. You're gonna keep us up to date, email,
Yes.
okay, which I'll distribute to the whole board, so we all know what the next steps are. All right, in my estimation, we should do, I'd like to set the public hearing. We had said the last time, assuming that this meeting went well, the two meetings went well, the one last Monday and the one this Monday. So I think we've made great progress between last week and tonight. So I'd like a motion to set the public hearing notice of, and the meeting for August 10th. Alina, you look like you're ready to say, I'll make the
I
motion.
make a motion to set the public hearing for August 10th.
And I second.
And Hans will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 6, 1 absence. So you got your public hearing for the 10th. No guarantees as to what's gonna happen in that meeting in terms of what the public's gonna say, obviously. No guarantee as to whether it'll only be one public hearing meeting or have to go to 2 for whatever reason. But we'll do the public hearing. The meeting, it sounds like the meeting with the fire department will not happen until after the public hearing. That's fine. We do need the maps before the public hearing, at least a week and a half before the public hearing, so the board has it and we have it for the public. And I need communication from you guys as to what you just heard tonight.
Sure.
And the additional things you're going to provide us with.
Can do that. I do want to thank everybody here for digging into this and helping us plow through this over the last couple weeks. Very much appreciate the board members coming to the site, seeing what we have and working this through. Rick, yourself, just everybody, we really appreciate everybody's time
And we thank you for letting us talk directly to Lavella. That was a huge.
that's a huge.
Yeah, that did for all that.
And that's what I want to see happen with the fire department.
And
that-
we avoid your stress to comply with EPA and don't lose the funds and.
Well, we are out of compliance at this point. It's first time in history for first year. So we are gonna work, now that we have a date of the 10th set up, we will work to let them know we're back in compliance. Hopefully they'll accept that.
I'm lost. Out of compliance.
So we are
Yeah.
technically out of compliance with the EPA rebate program.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the public hearing should put you right back in
We
compliance with the
think
letter.
it should, that we're sticking to the 10th. They missed an email, just so everybody's aware, I think we submitted the email. They missed an email we sent back to them saying the 10th was tentatively scheduled. They didn't reference that email in the notice they sent us that we were out of compliance. So I think now that we can say it's an approved firm, I think we'll be good for a while. But we need.
Well, then after that, it's just a matter of public hearing. Depending upon how that turns out, depending how the board feels about where we're at in terms of the information you provided us with, how our engineers feel we've made progress or not with all the remaining issues. I mean, the fire department is going to be the fire department. They have to give us some indication of, can they live with this? Will they work with us to get to a point? I mean, I'm sure they will. There may be individual members of the fire department that still don't agree with the concept. But eventually, that's important information for this board. Eventually, it's going to be up to this board to make the vote, to take the vote. And you'll be able to keep the EPA up to date every step of the way of what's going on.
First thing tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I think Omni's with James and taking notes, so she's already.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So for the meeting on the 10th, we're having a public hearing. We'll also have revised resubmitted plans and we will have
Savor because.
response to comments. So we'll have like everything up to date,
It's set for the fire department.
Except fine.
but I'm just saying, like, it's like a, I don't wanna use the word complete, because I know that has a technical But it'll be like a complete revised.
We will address the issues here. We will address all the things that are outstanding that will, we should do that.
And if something is outstanding, they'll indicate like this one is unresolved for whatever reason.
Right.
Okay, great. That's
That'll be submitted on Friday, if I heard that correctly,
That's, yes, that's what we're working to do.
because that'll give the fire department to be circulated to them on Monday, at least a week to review it prior to the meeting following.
That's great. Chris Meter, if you have issues setting it up the meeting, Peter's back in the swing of things as of tomorrow morning,
Okay.
so reach out to him. If you can't get him, call me.
The fire chief was very responsive, last time, when I contacted him, via,
Okay, anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Hang on, do you have anything you
This
want?
has never.
If I did, I wouldn't say.
Good. All right, so
No
I think
speech for the actual, no speech to the,
we're done.
Oh, wait,
No,
there's
I'm
gonna
just-
be seeker training, I thought.
yeah.
I'm just
Kidding.
September.
Jen, you want to make a motion?
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second. Yeah, Dave seconds. Jen, Dave, all in favor?